During my college winter break, I decided to stay with my cousins in North Dakota. It was a small town, very quiet and covered in snow. I thought it would be nice to spend some time away from the busy college life. Little did I know I was in for the scariest experience of my life. One night, my cousins and I went to a friend's house. This house was in a desolate area, far from the town. It was surrounded by thick, dark forests. We had a good time, laughing and sharing stories. As the night grew darker, it was time to go home. My cousins wanted to stay longer, but I was tired and decided to walk back alone. "I'll be fine," I told them. "It's just a short walk through the forest." I bundled up in my thick coat, gloves and hat and started walking. The snow crunched under my boots with every step. The cold air stung my face, but I didn't mind. The path was familiar. We had walked it many times before. It was a shortcut through the forest, saving about 10 minutes compared to the road. As I walked deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to close in around me. The moonlight barely reached through the thick branches. My breath formed small clouds in the air. It was silent, except for the occasional howl of the wind. Suddenly, I saw a figure ahead on the path. It startled me, as I didn't expect to see anyone else out here. The figure was tall and wore a dark coat. As I got closer, I noticed he was wearing a ski mask. His face was completely covered except for his eyes. "Hey!" I called out, waving my hand. The man didn't respond. He just stood there, silently staring at me. A chill ran down my spine. I felt a sense of dread. Who was this person? Why was he just standing there? My heart started to race. I thought about turning back to my friend's house, but I was already halfway home. Trying to stay calm, I walked quickly past the man, keeping my eyes forward. I could feel his gaze on me. My steps quickened, almost running now. The forest seemed darker, the path narrower. Every sound made me jump. I heard footsteps behind me. My blood ran cold. I didn't dare to look back. I just kept moving faster. The footsteps grew louder and closer. I was sure he was following me. I broke into a full sprint. My lungs burned from the cold air, and my legs felt heavy, but I couldn't stop. The footsteps behind me matched my pace. I could hear him getting closer and closer. Panic surged through me. In the distance, I saw the lights of my cousin's house. I pushed myself harder, desperate to reach the safety of home. My mind raced with terrifying thoughts of what might happen if he caught me. Finally, I burst out of the forest and into the yard. The footsteps stopped. I dared to glance back but saw no one. The path was empty, just dark trees and shadows. I rushed to the door and pounded on it, my breath coming in gasps. "What's wrong?" he asked, seeing the fear on my face. "There was someone in the forest," I managed to say between breaths. He was following me. My cousins quickly checked outside, but found nothing. The path was empty, and the forest was quiet again. They tried to reassure me, saying it was probably just someone else heading home, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. That night I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. I kept seeing the man in the ski mask, standing silently in the forest. His eyes were cold, empty. The next morning, I decided I wouldn't take that path again. It was too risky. The experience haunted me for the rest of my break. Even now, thinking about it sends chills down my spine. I wonder who that man was and what he wanted. Why was he out there, and why did he follow me? I'll never know, but one thing is certain. I don't plan to go back to that forest path anytime soon. That winter break, what was supposed to be a relaxing time with family, turned into a nightmare. The quiet, snowy town in North Dakota now holds a dark, scary memory for me. And the forest, once just a shortcut, is now a place of fear and mystery. Before we get into the next story, if you come for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for upcoming scary stories. We need your support. Please share these stories with your friends and family. Thanks. It was a chilly evening when I found myself lost in the dark, dense forest. I had wandered away from my campsite to collect some firewood, but the trees all looked the same, and soon I couldn't tell which way I'd come. The sun had set, and the forest grew darker with every passing minute. My flashlight flickered, barely piercing through the shadows. I was all alone, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to retrace my steps, but every path I took seemed wrong. Panic began to creep in. I knew I needed to stay calm, but the thought of spending the night alone in the woods was terrifying. I decided to keep moving, hoping to find a familiar landmark or some sign of my campsite. As I walked, I heard the snap of a twig behind me. I spun around, shining my flashlight in the direction of the noise, but there was nothing there. "It's just an animal," I told myself, trying to stay calm. I continued walking, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Every rustle of leaves and every sound of the wind seemed to be amplified in the silence of the night. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a shadowy figure standing among the trees. My breath caught in my throat and I froze. I took a step back, my heart racing. The figure took a step forward. That's when I realized it wasn't just my imagination. Someone or something was out there. Fear took over and I started to run. I didn't know where I was going, only that I needed to get away from that figure. The forest was a maze, and every direction looked the same. I stumbled over roots and branches, the trees seeming to close in around me. Behind me, I could hear footsteps, heavy and deliberate. They were getting closer. I ran harder, my breath coming in gasps. My legs felt like they were on fire, but I couldn't stop. I could still hear the footsteps behind me, relentless, never slowing down. Just when I thought I couldn't run any further, I saw a dim light in the distance. Hope surged through me, and I pushed myself towards it. The light was coming from an old cabin, half hidden by the trees. I dashed to the door and banged on it with all my strength. "Help! Please, someone help me!" I shouted. The door creaked open, and an old man stood there, his face lined with age but his eyes sharp and alert. "Come in quickly," he said, pulling me inside and slamming the door shut. I collapsed onto the floor, panting and trying to catch my breath. The old man locked the door and turned to me. "What happened? Why are you out here?" I told him everything about how I had gotten lost in the shadowy figure that had chased me. The old man listened carefully, nodding. "You did well to find this cabin," he said. "Not many do." He helped me to a chair and gave me a cup of hot tea. The warmth seeped into my bones and I started to feel a bit safer. The old man introduced himself as Henry. He had lived in the forest for many years and knew its dangers well. "You're lucky you found this place," Henry said. "There are things in these woods that you don't want to meet in the dark." I shivered, not wanting to think about what might have happened if I hadn't found the cabin. Henry was kind and reassuring, and he promised to help me find my way back to my campsite in the morning. "You need to rest now," he said. "You'll be safe here for the night." Despite the fear and exhaustion, I managed to fall asleep in the old cabin. The fire crackled warmly, and for the first time since I had gotten lost, I felt a sense of peace. The next morning, Henry and I set out to find my campsite. The forest seemed less intimidating in the daylight, but I still stayed close to Henry, trusting his knowledge of the woods. He moved with confidence, guiding us through the trees. After what felt like hours, we finally arrived at my campsite. I was overwhelmed with relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Henry," I said, feeling tears of relief welling up in my eyes. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Henry smiled kindly. "Just be careful next time," he said. "The forest can be a dangerous place, especially at night." As I watched Henry disappear back into the woods, I realized how lucky I had been. I gathered my things, packed up my campsite, and made my way home, vowing never to wander too far into the forest alone again. The memory of that shadowy figure still haunts me, but I'll always be grateful to Henry for saving me that night. The forest is beautiful, but it's also a place of mystery and danger, and it's important to respect that. I have always loved camping alone in the wilderness. There was something magical about the peace, away from the busy city. Last weekend, I decided to spend a night in my SUV, deep in the forest. The air was fresh and the stars shone brightly above. I parked my car in a small clearing and set up my little camp. As the sun went down, I made a small fire and cooked a simple dinner. The woods were alive with sounds. I could hear crickets chirping and the occasional rustle of leaves. It was soothing and I felt at peace. After dinner, I sat by the fire, staring into the flames and enjoying the solitude. It was around midnight when I decided to turn in. I put out the fire and climbed into my SUV. The back was set up like a small bedroom with a sleeping bag of pillows. It was cozy and I felt safe inside. I cracked the windows slightly to let in some fresh air and lay down, ready to sleep. Just as I was drifting off, I heard something strange. It was faint at first, but it sounded like chanting. My heart skipped a beat. I strained my ears to listen. The chanting was eerie, like a distant song carried by the wind. It sent shivers down my spine. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, or maybe some animals making noises, but the chanting grew louder. It seemed to be coming from the woods, not too far away. I sat up and peered out the window, but it was too dark to see anything. The trees cast long shadows, and the only light came from the moon. I felt a wave of fear wash over me. I had never heard anything like this before. I debated whether I should stay or drive away. But then, as suddenly as it started, the chanting stopped. The forest was silent again. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. Maybe it was just some locals having a strange ritual, I thought. I decided to stay. I locked the doors and lay back down, but sleep didn't come easily. Eventually, exhaustion took over and I drifted off. I don't know how long I slept, but I was startled awake by a loud knocking on the window. My heart pounded in my chest as I sat up quickly. My breath caught in my throat when I saw a face peering in at me. It was a man with wild eyes and a disheveled appearance. Panic surged through me. I let out a guttural scream, a sound I didn't even know I could make. The man outside jumped back, startled by my reaction. He turned and ran into the darkness of the forest. My hands were shaking as I fumbled to turn on the car's lights. The clearing was empty, but the fear lingered. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I kept the car lights on and my eyes glued to the windows, watching for any sign of movement. Every rustle of leaves made my heart race. I wished for the dawn to come quickly. Finally, the first light of morning broke through the trees. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I decided it was time to leave this place. I started the car and drove away, my mind replaying the events of the night over and over. As I drove, I couldn't shake the image of that man's face from my mind. Who was he? Why was he out here in the middle of the night? And what was that eerie chanting? Questions swirled in my head, but I had no answers. When I reached the nearest town, I stopped at a small diner. I needed to gather my thoughts and have a hot meal. The waitress noticed my shaken state and asked if I was okay. I told her about my experience, hoping for some explanation. She listened intently, her expression growing serious. "You're not the first person to talk about strange happenings in those woods," she said. "There are old stories about the place being haunted. People say they've seen strange figures and heard chanting at night." Her words sent another chill down my spine. I finished my meal quickly and thanked her. As I got back into my car, I realized that I might never know what happened that night. But one thing was clear: I wouldn't be camping alone in those woods again. The experience left me shaken but unharmed. I learned to respect the unknown and to listen to my instincts. Sometimes the wilderness holds secrets that are best left undisturbed. And sometimes it's better to find peace in the safety of familiar places rather than the heart of the unknown.